There. So today I'm going to talk about a very important topic that it's how do you choose if you want to have a co-host, if you choose to pay as a facilitator, or if you choose to have an assistant for the retreat. Why do I want to talk about this topic? It's just because this is something that actually at the end interferes with your profit. So it's something that you need to really think about when you're making that decision. So before I go into which one is best and how they work, I'm going to tell you a little bit about what includes each one of them, right? So what does having a co-host entails? So basically having a co-host is having someone else that is going to be hosting with you. So the idea is that you find someone that actually is very as engaged with you with the retreat as you are, and that you have a very good communication since the beginning, so you make sure what are the tasks that each one of you are going to be making, so there is no misunderstandings later on. You have no idea how many times I've heard that people decide to co-host retreats, and later on they're having arguments because one is doing all the legwork and the other one is just expecting to actually get all the profit, or the 50% of the profit, whatever you decide to have as an agreement. So having a proper agreement and defining which things each one is going to do is so important. For example, I think it's very important that you actually make these decisions from a place of what does each person does best. So it doesn't feel that you need to be learning new things at that time. So an example in this case is if someone is great at sales, maybe they will focus on selling the retreat. And if the other one is very good at organization, then that's the person who's going to make sure that the itinerary is well done, that everything is happening. The same thing happens if you're launching a sales page. Who's the person who's best acquainted to doing the sales page? And if someone is better for copywriting, maybe that person will write the copy. The same comes with like image selection. So the look and feel of the sales page is actually amazing. And I'm not saying that you have to have a sales page. It can be a PDF, it can be posters for social media, and anything else that comes together. Also, when you're having a co-host, if you have a very specific branding of your brand, it's very important to have this conversation before. Under which brand is this retreat gonna fall? Because later on, it can be something that it becomes kind of like a conversation because it's kind of proprietary, right? So if you create a retreat that is called Finding New Ways to Fulfill Your Purpose, for example, and it's under your brand, then you kind of own that retreat style, not the co-host as much. So it's very important to have these conversations at the beginning. Okay. So what else can I tell you about this? When you're having a co-host, it's very important to have this understanding as well on how many hours each one is going to invest on selling the retreat, or doing the promotional part, or creating the things, or are both of you going to enter like the meetings that you have maybe with the retreat center, or the house that you're renting, or the hotel that you're booking out. So there is very, very good understanding on how much time it is. Something, for example, that I can give you as a good note on it is that actually a lot of people, if you don't have kids, like for example me, maybe I have a little bit more availability on my time and more flexibility. But if someone has kids, it comes with additional responsibilities that might not allow you to actually be there all the time or to be as present. So these are very things to consider. I believe that sometimes having a co-host, it's beautiful in the sense that you are sharing the responsibility, sharing the profit, but also sharing all the work that comes behind. For me, sometimes this is a very good way to start if you're not completely sure of what you're offering or if it's going to sell. And that will give you kind of like a safety blanket. So sometimes collaborations are absolutely amazing at the beginning of your journey, but also go back if you've done a lot of this and think, do I still need to be doing always collaborations or just in specific times? And then I can go on my own and host my own retreats. It's all about the same place of worth and knowing if we are in the right space or not. And I love collaborations and teamwork, But as a person who used to always be like, I can do this, I can do that, I tend to overtake tasks that might not be the best balance in the relationship. So this is a very, very nice invitation for you to actually get to see what works best for you. So this is so many times we think that we make these collaborations because the other person has a big following and they're gonna sell more. So it comes from a financial perspective. And it's important to know that if the person is not as engaged in selling the retreat, it doesn't matter if they have 100,000 followers or a big network. If they don't want to do the effort and put the energy behind it and the actions, then it really doesn't help you in any way. So make sure you ask yourself, why do you want to have a co-host? And based on that, make the decision. The next person I'm going to talk about is the other option, is hiring facilitators to come help you. So there are different ways to hire facilitators. So you can bring your facilitators from the retreat, and this entails sometimes having to pay for certain expenses. So this is something that you need to consider when you're budgeting. If you're bringing additional facilitators and they're coming from out of town, most likely you will have to be paying for transport, food, and lodging. So it's something that you need to take into consideration. So it's very nice to have great facilitators, and it also elevates your product if they're amazing facilitators that you know they're proven and they know what they're doing. But sometimes you can also hire facilitators from the location that are absolutely amazing. And there are different ways to find them, right? So many times you can actually ask the retreat center to help you with that. And they probably have additional activities that they can offer. And it's people they work with on a regular basis. So you can trust that they are good. And you can always ask for their bios and information for a meeting on the phone, just to actually get to know them and feel the energy of what they will be offering. And the other option is also you can go into like local groups on like Facebook or WhatsApp and ask for people who are facilitators, and maybe even go and try one of their facilitations beforehand. So if the place is not so far away from you, maybe let's say an hour and a half drive, and they're having an event, it's worth going and investing and trying out their services, just so it gives you peace of mind and you know that their message is aligned with yours. Because something that can be horrible in a retreat experience, if you're teaching something, a technique, and then the facilitator comes and says, well, that's not the right way. It doesn't look like you really did your proper research. So these are the two options for facilitators. They are great in the sense that you don't have to co-host, so you don't have to split the profit. You're just paying a fee, but it comes with certain things, as I mentioned, right? So it's very, very important for you to actually get to think about it and see what helps. It's beautiful when in an itinerary, it's not only you being the teacher and the guide for everything, it also helps you to avoid burnout, and you get to be in a better space from yourself, right? If you are trying to do everything on your own, it becomes, you're kind of like this person. I don't know if you've seen people that they have like 12 instruments in their bag and they play the drum with their feet and the harmonica with their mouth, and at the same time, if they move their hips, there's a chime coming. It kind of tends to feel a little bit like that. So it's beautiful to have facilitators that will bring additional experiences into your retreats. So the last one I want to talk, it's hiring someone to come and help you run the retreat. So for this, there are also two options. You either hire a seasoned retreat planner that will come with you and already knows a lot about retreat planning, that this also comes usually with a higher rate. Or you have an assistant that maybe the assistant is helping you throughout everything else that you're doing, or a friend that you really know that they know what they're doing and you know their skills, that you know they're great at being organized, or certain things that maybe you're lacking, or things that you are not supposed to be spending your energy on. Then you bring this person. There's different ways to pay. You can either say, hey, this would be an exchange in the sense that you get lodging, you get food, you get transport, and then you get to experience all the activities. But if they have a lot of work behind and they won't be able to experience the activities, there's also the possibility to offer to pay a certain rate. So it's really about the relationship that you have with that person. Even if you have an assistant that's already on your payroll, you can talk to them and be like, hey, would this be included on the fee that I'm already paying? Or I'm going to give you some extra days so you recover these hours that you're working on. so you do this, or I'm going to pay you a little bit extra so you come and support me through this process. It's very nice to have support in many different ways, and you can choose which one is the one that fits best for you. Also, something that I want to mention before I finish this video is that sometimes if you hire a retreat center that's specialized on hosting retreats, you might not need an additional assistant to help you out through the process. So it's very good to ask all these questions and be like, hey, is there someone who's going to be doing the check-in? If I have a special waiver that they need to sign, can I give it to you and you'll make sure that it gets signed? It comes also with like the meals. If you give a proper itinerary and the place is very, very seasoned in doing this, then they will know what needs to happen at which time, and then you don't need an additional person helping you out through the process. So I hope this information is helpful, and then you get to experience when you're doing your retreats the best way that is serving you, who you are, your strengths, and where you're supposed to be putting your energy that serves your retreaters in the best and most transformational way. Thank you.